All right, I'm here at Inside Bitcoins with Bitcoin Rat.
The Bitcoin Rat.
And so how is Bitcoin Rat doing?
Bitcoin Rat is doing fine, Theo. The the concept's quite.
Here, you can have.
Yeah. Okay. Should I hold that? Or?
Yeah, hold that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The concept is that what we have are a little group of rats that are traveling the world, putting a fun back into Bitcoin. So essentially, he's all over the globe. At the moment, we've got about a dozen. A couple in Africa, a couple in the States, him in France, and what they're doing is creating their own little ledger. So he's been on a boat going across the Pacific with Elsa Hammond in the Pacific Hawaii Row. He's with a little rock band in the UK called the Dead Reds, who are using him to bounce up and down on the speakers. He's going to Germany to be in an art film. Not the same one, they're all different ones, but the central thing is there that they're building up a big ledger of fun things associated with Bitcoin, which will enable journalists in that region to dip into the file, dip into the website and say, hey, this guy's not just in Hamburg, he's in California, he's in everything else. So that's the theory.
Okay, great. So basically, people have the Bitcoin Rat, the little animal here, the stuffed animal, a little rat with a Bitcoin badge on, and they do stuff with them. They go, is that right? This woman rode across the Atlantic.
If you go into
Are you serious?
Yeah,
because that's really
Pacific.
I said, what?
Pacific.
The whole Pacific.
No, she actually got beaten by the weather in the end, but she was out there for about nearly 30 days. I think.
That's rough. Wow.
Yeah. Solo rowing, and there's pictures of him from the middle of the Pacific on the way to Hawaii.
So why a rat? Does that have something to do with the spreading factor, or is it humorous?
I want it. There's two sides to it. See, that essentially I'm an arts background. I'm not a techie guy, but I understood Bitcoin as soon as I looked through it, and I spent a lot of time trying to read it, and spent typical like Andreas did. I was the 3 weeks of not sleeping guy, so read everything I could, and once I understood Bitcoin, I realized that actually it had major implications on how it affected the financial system. So I created a rat character very early on social media that was a little cartoon of a rat in a rowing boat flowing away from the good ship Titanic debt, which was sinking, and in the rowing boat was a little rat with a little supply of Bitcoins. And there was an iceberg, and it had a Bitcoin logo on it. So in other words, it was saying, Bitcoin, if you rats leave the sinking ship, come on board now. So it was a little graphic.
Okay, great. Is there any, maybe you didn't think of it at first, but just by chance, you do realize that the Bitcoin logo is nice and orange, like some nice cheddar cheese that rats and mice like to eat. And so maybe they go around and collect the little pieces of Bitcoin, just like they collect cheese.
There's interesting. If you Google, if anyone wants to Google Bitcoin and cheese will save mankind, I got him as a quote of the day on Bloomberg when they said,
really?
They said something like, "What can millenniums do for their?" And I just said, the financial systems, whatever it was, only Bitcoin and cheese can save mankind. So that became one of the Bloomberg tweets.
I like it.
Quite early on. So that did the rat and the cheese. That went quite well.
Okay, that's great. So basically, you have this vision. You have a website up right now.
Yep.
And
it's in its infancy.
But it's up. Yep. It exists. And what's the address?
Cryptorats.com.
Okay, cryptorats.com. And the idea is that people can have a project or a band, or it doesn't have to be a tech project. It could be something silly like, I'm going to cut the grass in my front yard, and I want to have the Bitcoin rat with me, or I'm going to I'm going to bake a pie, and I want to have the Bitcoin rat, or I'm going to have a product launch.
Yep, exactly. As I was saying to the guy from Yoshi from the miner, I said,
right,
if you're doing a product launch to the newspaper, you're a commercial guy trying to sell a commercial message. Why should he put you in his paper? If the rat's sitting on your ASIC miner unit as you're talking, and the journalist says, what's this little guy? And you say, well, look into the website, Twitter for Bitworld Tour. Look at Crypto. There's hundreds of these guys, and the journalist thinks this is a story I could write that has an international thing and a national thing. So it becomes not just a product promotion, it becomes a bit of fun that
Okay.
journalists can dip into. That's the
Also for everybody else. So it tells a story.
yeah
It makes a story
yeah
of it. The journey of the crypto
yeah.
rats. They're here. They're
They're everywhere.
everywhere.
They're growing.
They're growing.
They're
I mean, and that is true. That's like rats. You can't
yeah.
stop
No, you
rats.
can't.
You can't. They're everywhere.
And you don't see them till they pop up sometimes, which
That's
is what
right.
cryptography is
I
doing.
like that.
Cryptocurrency.
I like
So
that. They're kind of anonymous too in a
yeah,
way. You know, they kind of you know
he's the star, not
he's
me.
the star. He's not anonymous.
No.
Okay, so okay, hold on. I've got your mock-ups here,
Yep, yep.
and let's see. We've got you're calling it a ledger. So basically, the ledger are the appearances of the rat.
Every rat all over the world, wherever they happen to be.
Right.
So at the moment, I said I'm self-funding it. It's small. At the moment, I'm going to be looking for some sort of help and sponsorship with that.
Mm-hmm.
But the theory is that the website will grow to everyone will have their own admin and login page to update their own information on their own particular rat, wherever he is, and that will combine in a whole big ledger system all reference and database, so that if someone wants to type something in like dockyard, it'll bring up any rats that have visited a dockyard.
Right.
So it's a resource with keyword searches that hopefully in 18 months will be so big that actually if you want to find Bitcoin involved in something, it'll be easy to do.
The Bitcoin rat will be there.
He will be there.
Right. Okay, and are you gonna become a millionaire by selling
Nope.
Bitcoin rats?
No, certainly. And as I said, at the moment, Theo, I'm self-funding.
Okay.
I'm on the process of setting this up as a not-for-profit company. So
Mhm.
it'll be a community interest company registered in the UK. So it will have those benefits. I won't be drawing a salary. I'm retired now. I've got a little bit of
Okay.
a pension, but it's fun. It will grow.
Mm. But it should be economically viable.
It should be economic. Oh,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah,
and there
yeah.
are sponsorship opportunities. So,
Yeah, right.
so sponsors will be able to attach their logos to web pages on the particular tours or particular region. So a Bitcoin business in Indonesia can be on the page of any rats that are in Southeast Asia, for instance. Or so that will
I
be.
like this.
Yeah.
You could also do like puzzles, like find the rat.
Yeah. It's like I was saying in the conference, Theo, when someone was talking about, well, what happens if, and we don't know.
Right.
This goes where it goes with me. It's
Mhm.
a decentralized project. It will be
Right.
driven by
Actually, I want you to, even though it's not exactly what is related to the rat thing, I
Yeah.
want you to, because that was a really interesting comment or question about the encyclopedias.
Oh yeah.
Because I really liked that. So what happened was we had a presentation from Blockchain Info, and that was really good. And somebody asked, okay, what happens when all the Bitcoins are mined? How does the network work then? How do the transactions go through? And your answer was something about encyclopedias that you have, right?
We are talking, when Bitcoins reach that level, we're talking about,
Yeah, we have plenty of time.
150 plus years
Sure,
ago.
sure.
So in the future. So I just said, look, on my shelf in my office, I've got the 9th edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Uh-huh.
Let's do that again. So
Yeah.
The 9th edition of Encyclopedia Britannica,
Uh-huh.
which she's dated about 1889, 1890. And I also have the new volumes, which are 1903, which became the 10th edition. Well, in the 9th edition, I was looking up, and I happened to look up aeronautics. And you can imagine in 1889,
Right.
Wright brothers weren't until early 1914, 1910, were they?
1903, I thought. Or no, 1909?
Well,
1909. Anyway.
Certainly later than my 10th
I should
edition.
know this because I grew up in North Carolina, and that's where they did their test flight. And I'm going to be, everyone's going to make fun of me.
And me too.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, go back. So,
okay, not a problem.
Was it 1899? The Encyclopedia, and you looked up aeronautics,
and there were about 50 pages in aeronautics.
Right.
49 and a half pages were all about balloons, all about the theories of balloons, all about the pressure, all about Boyle's law and all the other things.
Yeah.
How you might be able to navigate balloons, and because they're lighter than air, they have no resistance in air. So how do you steer them? This was the most eminent minds of the day discussing how we could fly.
Right.
There was a tiny paragraph of about 2 sentences saying about people are experimenting with machines with wings, but they either have lack of knowledge and these things aren't going anywhere. right?
Right.
So this is the Einsteins of the day saying you'll never fly.
Right. Well, it was probably some
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
flapping wings or
Yeah,
something
but
like that. Sure.
But interestingly, in the one that was 1903, when they were getting closer, they were now about a page and a half on planes with wings, but of course they were driven by steam engines, with me. And the discussion was for about a page that the force generated by the steam engine compared to the weight it was would never actually be enough to
Right.
lift it. And there were still another 40 pages on balloons, right? And all
Right.
the formulas, right? Saying that this is an interesting idea, but we don't think the mechanical flights heavier than air will fly. So, and then 4 or 5 years later, it was, and look where we are now.
Right.
So even what I'm saying is, I think in the Bitcoin space, we're in that sort of age when the greatest minds of the day are looking at this. The greatest economists are saying this is never going to work. It's just because in their thinking, they are thinking in the moment. They're not thinking where it's going to go.
Right.
So that's a bit of
Yeah, well, I thought that was a really good analogy, and it's an interesting way to look at it.
And
yeah,
so
we have to take
a
step back sometimes.
Yes, exactly. And
compare
it came in the context, Theo, of someone saying, well, what are we going to do? And I say, well, we don't know, but you can be sure it's going to happen. Just as the guys who were saying, well, we don't know how they're going to solve this heavier than air steam engine that drives a plane, but we think it's going to happen, but we don't know why yet.
Right.
So they come to that decision in 10 years, and then 10, 15, 20 years later, you were crossing the Atlantic, you were flying passenger planes and everything else.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so if I want to get involved with Bitcoin Rat,
contact me on Twitter.
Okay.
At Bitcoin Rat.
Mm-hmm.
Just come in, say hello, fine, introduce yourself. Say at this stage, Theo, because I'm self-funding it, obviously I am sort of selecting, if you like, projects to give it to.
Mm-hmm.
What I want this project to develop in, once it gets big enough, is what they were talking about here today, which is decentralized autonomous organizations.
Okay.
Where if it's big enough that we get 100, 200, they will all have votes. So anyone who wants to enter the space, if it gets the consensus of people saying this is a good project, it happens. Nobody stops it happening.
All right, and they get the prestige of having the Bitcoin Rat at their project,
whatever.
Or whatever.
But in the beginning, it has to be someone. I've got to decide where it goes.
Sure.
But it's
that's okay if you're the dictator to begin with. As long as you say you're the dictator, it's fine.
I'm getting no money out of it, Theo, and when it comes to it,
even if you were getting money, as long as you say that you are up front, it's okay. I get it.
I shall step back. It's got to be decentralized as soon as it can.
Right. Okay. Great. So can you just? I don't know how good it's going to look. Just hold up the little mock-up page.
I don't know. Can you see that?
I don't know. Give it to me, maybe.
If you can, is that there? Yeah.
There you go.
There you are. Essentially, what we're doing is we're creating a ledger, which is easy reference for journalists. And these are the ones with the pictures on are actual rats that are out there at the moment. There's one on the rowing boat. There's the guy in the rock band.
Yeah.
There's a little one that's going to Germany for an art film. There's two now going out to Africa. One supporting Hero Rats, which are doing rats sniffing out landmines to save lives. Because rats apparently can sniff out landmines.
Really. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay. So he's actually, his cousin has actually gone out in the post, and hopefully in the next day or two he'll be there. And they promised me that he will go out on tours with them looking for landmines. So, and again, that will feed back, Theo, in the whole ethos of publicity. They will use it. It will be used on Twitter, and that will help grow the ledger.
All right, I like it. I like the idea. I mean, why not? Right?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for talking to us.
And anyone who can help, please get in touch.
Okay.
He's the star, not me. I'm not here.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
How do we do this in a safe way without causing a revolution? I mean,
I'm just making the point that, for example, a couple of days ago I was in Turkey, I was at Mobile Money and speaking to central bankers, and for them the concept of Bitcoin is from their perspective, is undermining the integrity of their financial system and the control that they have. When we met with the Bank of England, they said Bitcoin is a monetary risk. So how do we do this in a peaceful way? That we can
Have you asked what the monetary risk is? Have they defined it? They haven't. And let me tell you what it is. causing monopoly to the banking system. That is the problem, because that is why they were created. The central bank, the Bank of England, was created for that purpose.